Welcome to Nature Walk, the podcast where we explore the wonders of the natural world and delve into the most pressing issues affecting our planet. I'm your host, David, and I'm excited to share another fascinating story with you today. As we take a walk through the forests of North America, we find ourselves at the center of a heated debate among scientists and conservationists. The topic, whether active management of forests is the key to preventing devastating wildfires or if it's actually fueling the problem. It's a complex issue that requires a nuanced understanding of the delicate balance between human intervention and the natural world. On one hand, some researchers argue that actively managing forests through techniques like thinning and prescribed burning can help reduce the risk of catastrophic fires by removing excess fuel and promoting healthier ecosystems. They point to studies showing that contemporary wildfires are more severe compared to historical reference periods in western U.S. dry conifer forests. On the other hand, others contend that such interventions can have unintended consequences, such as disrupting the natural fire cycle, damaging habitats, and even increasing the risk of future fires. They argue that human-started wildfires have expanded the fire niche across the United States, and that our attempts to control fires may be exacerbating the problem. As we navigate this contentious issue, we must consider the intricate relationships between fire, forests, and climate change. With rising temperatures and changing precipitation patterns, the conditions for wildfires are becoming increasingly favorable. It's a challenge that requires a deep understanding of ecology, conservation biology, and environmental science. So, what's the best approach to managing our forests in the face of growing wildfire risks? Should we be taking a more hands-on approach, or should we be allowing nature to take its course? The answer, much like the forests themselves, is complex and multifaceted. We'll be right back with more fascinating stories from the natural world on Nature Walk. Welcome back to Nature Walk. I'm your host David, and we're delighted to have you joining us again as we explore the wonders of the natural world. Today, we're taking a closer look at a phenomenon that's been making headlines in recent weeks, the early arrival of autumn conditions across the UK. As we've been hearing from our listeners, many of you have noticed that the trees are shedding their leaves earlier than usual, and the ground is dry and cracked in many parts of the country. But what's behind this sudden shift in the seasons? To find out, let's take a journey to the Botanical Garden of Wales, where Luke Cheeseman is working hard to keep the garden healthy and thriving despite the challenging conditions. Soft music plays in the background. David, as we walk through the gardens, you can see the signs of stress on the trees. Leaves are turning yellow and falling, branches are drooping, and the ground is parched. Luke, can you tell us more about what's happening here? Luke Cheeseman. Yes, David. We've had 3 almost back-to-back heat waves, which has put a lot of pressure on our trees. They're not getting enough water, and it's affecting their ability to photosynthesize. We're doing everything we can to help them, from extra watering to mulching and adding organic material to the soil. David, that's fascinating. And it's not just here in Wales that we're seeing these effects. Across the UK, farmers are reporting early harvests, and some crops are struggling in the heat. The Environment Agency has declared droughts in several regions, including northwest England, Yorkshire, and parts of Wales. But what does this mean for wildlife? Soft music continues to play. David, Catherine Brown, Director of Climate Change and Evidence at the Wildlife Trusts, joins us now to share her insights. Catherine, thanks for being with us today. Catherine Brown, thank you, David. Yes, the early arrival of autumn conditions is a sign of nature shutting down, and it's likely to have significant impacts on wildlife in the coming months. Many species are adapted to thrive in specific seasonal cycles, and when those cycles break down, it can have devastating consequences. David, that's really worrying. Can you give us some examples of how this might play out? Catherine Brown, well, for instance, earthworms are living in dry, hard soil, making it difficult for badgers and hedgehogs to dig them up for food. Birds that rely on fruits like blackberries to sustain them through the winter may find themselves going hungry if the crop comes too early, and bees are showing signs of shutting down for the winter, which could leave them without enough food. David, it's a complex web of relationships, isn't it? And at the heart of it all is climate change. As we've been hearing from scientists, this year's heat waves have been boosted by rising global temperatures. Catherine, what's your message to our listeners today? Catherine Brown, I'm very worried about what we're seeing already, and this is just a point that we're passing through on the way to much more extreme conditions. Species have evolved to exist in a seasonal cycle, and if that cycle breaks down, those species will break down as well. We know it's a real risk that we'll lose huge chunks of nature due to climate impacts. David, thank you, Catherine, for sharing your expertise with us today. As we continue on our journey through the natural world, it's clear that the consequences of climate change are far-reaching and complex. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Nature Walk. Welcome back to Nature Walk. As we conclude our journey through the natural world today, I'd like to take you to the shores of Sri Lanka, where a fascinating yet concerning story has been unfolding. The black mussel, Mytella strigata, an invasive species, has made its way into the country's waters and is now posing a significant threat to the local ecosystem. This mussel, native to the Americas, has been spreading rapidly across Southeast Asia, and its presence in Sri Lanka marks a new frontier in its invasive journey. The black mussel can outcompete native species for food and habitat, leading to a decline in biodiversity and potentially disrupting the delicate balance of the marine ecosystem. But how did this invasive species reach Sri Lanka's shores? Scientists believe that it may have been introduced through human activities such as shipping and trade. Ballast water, which is taken on by ships for stability, can harbor unwanted organisms like the black mussel, releasing them into new environments when discharged. Biofouling, the build-up of organisms on submerged surfaces like hulls and propellers, is another pathway through which invasive species can spread. The International Maritime Organization, IMO, has been working to address these issues through initiatives like the Glow Fouling Partnerships Project, which aims to promote good biofouling management practices. However, Sri Lanka is yet to ratify the Ballast Water Management Convention, leaving a gap in its defenses against invasive species. As we reflect on this story, it's clear that the introduction of non-native species can have far-reaching consequences for local ecosystems. It's essential for countries like Sri Lanka to have robust measures in place to prevent the spread of invasive species and to act quickly when they are detected. The experience with other invasive species in Sri Lanka, such as the giant African land snail and apple snails, serves as a cautionary tale. Early detection and decisive responses are crucial in preventing long-term damage to the environment. As we conclude this episode of Nature Walk, I encourage you to think about your own role in protecting the natural world. Whether it's reducing your carbon footprint, supporting conservation efforts, or simply being more mindful of the species that live among us, every action counts. That's all for today's Nature Walk. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, keep exploring your natural world.